Hi, I'm Janet Gross. Welcome to Coping Today, a place where we talk about mental health and well-being, things on our minds. And today we're talking about things that can get in the way of our physical and mental well-being and what we might do maybe to put us back on a positive track. Dr. Roy Salgado, professor of counseling at the University of Holy Cross, is here to help us get going on that. Maybe first steps, literally. Because sitting around doing nothing is probably not good for us.
It is not helpful at all. You know,
although it seems fun in the moment sometimes.
You feel like you're resting. You feel like you're resting when you're laying around, but there's a difference between true rest, and rest is important, and being lethargic and lazy.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people come in with symptoms of anxiety or depression into a counseling relationship with a professional counselor, and they are describing symptoms such as, I have racing thoughts and I feel like I have butterflies in the pit of my stomach, I have tightness of chest, typical symptoms of anxiety or depression. And a common theme among many people in the 21st century is a sedentary lifestyle. Yeah. We are more sedentary now than ever before. You know, human beings weren't meant to just sit around. We were meant to go and look for food. We went and hunted and foraged, and we
walked,
and even when we became agrarian, we plowed and we sowed. There was movement in order to acquire food. Now we DoorDash. And so the screens coupled with a sedentary lifestyle does not help. And so we wonder why we are more anxious and more depressed as a culture and as a society than ever before. Now, sedentary lifestyles in and of themselves don't make you anxious and don't make you depressed, but they certainly exacerbate the situation if you are struggling with symptoms of anxiety and depression.
You know, there is something wonderful and amazing, and I believe God-given, that if you get up and walk outside, there's something that changes, not just your surroundings and maybe your screen is gone, but just you see other things, you breathe differently.
Absolutely, and to that point, you know, a person who comes in with anxiety, a person who comes in with depression, and they're working through that in treatment, there's a lot that perhaps has contributed on the front end to that diagnosis. And that's going to take time to delve into and work through and intervene accordingly so that they have overcome their diagnoses. But there are initial first steps, baby steps, that can kind of alleviate that symptomology immediately. And moving, physical activity, exercise, going for that brisk walk, having that sunshine on your face, that stuff can help immediately as you are working through all of the other things that perhaps need to be worked through, whether it be trauma, interpersonal dynamics, other stressors, what have you. Those things aren't going to be quick fixes, but an immediate relief is physical activity.
So I guess you have to be aware of when being chill crosses the line into...
Right. Resting is important. We need to rest and we need to sleep. And there's a difference between sleep and there's a difference between rest, and we could do a whole other episode on just rest and sleep.
Let me write that down.
But it's important to incorporate that into our lives, rest and sleep. But if you are doing that in perpetuity, then it's no longer rest, it's no longer sleep. You need rest and sleep to energize yourself. When you rest too much, then you become lethargic, then you become slothful, and then you become lazy, and then that's just a downward spiral into further depression, and when you're depressed, then perhaps also becoming more anxious. And so avoiding all of that.
You have a chance to stop that or to intervene in that before that happens.
Turn off the TV and get up.
There we go. Okay, before we cut to break, there is a service the University of Holy Cross still offers for free that really can help in this situation, if it becomes necessary, or other situations.
Yes, the University of Holy Cross for several years now has been offering free telemental health counseling to any resident of Louisiana. So if anyone is struggling with anxiety, depression, or is unmotivated in a number of different areas, they can just simply call the number on the screen, and the assistant will go ahead and triage that call to the clinical director, and then a counselor and trainer will be assigned to you, and you will receive services free of charge in the state.
Perfect. All right, that's a really good thing to know.
It's a great service.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk with the counselor about the benefits of moving and mood and more. Stay with us.
Testing. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
Welcome back. We've heard this before, getting up and getting out, just moving, it might make you feel better. But sometimes we may not really hear it. And why is that? Travis Olivier, licensed professional counselor, joins us now. What stops that, or what stops us from hearing that, Travis, or believing that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What stops us from actually believing that getting up and getting out will help us? What keeps us on the couch?
Well, I think a lot of the clients that I deal with nowadays, are especially young males, are leading very sedentary lifestyles. They much rather prefer to play video games or go on social media, do online streaming, really anything that keeps them inside of the house. You see much less as far as younger males participating in any kind of physical activity or going to the gym. It's just much less than what we've experienced in previous generations.
What is your sense in terms of what is contributing to this factor that young males today, as opposed to being interested in sports and physical activity, they're now more interested in gaming, in screen time, in
social media?
What is your sense of that?
I mean, it's just, I guess, because it's so easily accessible nowadays with the idea of just you're able to pick up your phone and it will turn on a video game and just basically not move around. I mean, it's overall easier.
And I guess it requires that effort, right? To get up and go. Let's say you join a sport for school. You get up and you go to the practice. You have to do it every day, and then you go to compete and play that sport, or just simply going to the gym, even if it's not an organized sport, going and working out or going for a walk around the block takes a degree of commitment, discipline, and effort.
Right, it takes work.
Yeah. And I think
a lot of the students that we deal with, a lot of the teenagers that I work with are not willing to put forth that work.
Yeah. And I guess it also gives you that sense that this is a social media thing, but it gives you the sense of being there without having to be there.
That is an interesting point.
You can keep to yourself, which is a problem, I think, in today's society, to be able to shelter and feel like you're a part of something, but you're really not.
That is an interesting point, because in the past, in order to be social with someone else, you had to physically leave your home, drive to wherever, or walk to wherever it is that you had to go, and then be with that person, whether it's to engage in a sport, engage in some other activity. But now people are socializing remotely. They're socializing on the various platforms and on their various devices.
That's correct.
And I guess, Travis, that's hard. That's easy to describe or to disguise yourself, I think, in social media. So you're really maybe not getting personal communications. And what is that doing to kids these days by not getting up and getting out?
Well, I think one of the ways that it's going to help, it's going to hinder them in the future as far as not being able to communicate with somebody one-on-one. I mean, we're talking about going on job interviews in the future, being able to sit down with somebody one-on-one and have a real communication. That's definitely something that's going to hinder them in the future. But as far as not getting the physical activity they need, we're going to start seeing some physical ailments, as far as you may see an increase in aches and pains and stomach aches and headaches and overall just not feeling physically well. Whereas if they were moving around, you might see them feeling a little bit better.
And to that point, we are seeing in youth these days comorbidities, not only with anxiety and depression, but also with diseases, physical ailments that we wouldn't see till middle age. We're seeing diabetes and hypertension in young people like never before. A big part of that is that sedentary lifestyle, not moving, not being active. And then you throw in anxiety and depression, all these things just compound and work against and on one another. So it's important to really work with these young people and get them motivated to move.
Right, because that's what, you see it in all the commercials and everything for older people. Don't stop moving, get up and move, because you're going to have a better life if you get up and get out.
Right. And that message now needs to be transmitted to younger people, because it's going to be that much more challenging for them to be able to do it as they age if they didn't have a youth where they moved. Older people, they're being given that message, but they had moved in previous decades. To not move from the get-go, it really sets the tone for not a good place down the line. To be a 30-year-old, perhaps, who is morbidly obese, who has comorbidities of diabetes and hypertension and heart disease, coupled with anxiety and depression, just makes for a very difficult situation.
So Travis, how do you advise someone? I mean, you can't, I guess you could say, look, you start out like this, if it's a young person, you start out like this, what is it going to look like later? What is it going to look like in 20 years for you? Does that sink in, do you think, to kids?
Well, in therapy, we talk a lot about using self-care, and I think self-care comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. But one of the things I do like to encourage with my clients is the idea of self-care in the form of physical activity. I mean, it can come in anything that's going to be enjoyable to them. It doesn't just have to be telling them, all right, go ride a bike today. If you have that choice, there's plenty of activities that somebody can pick to just get that body up and moving.
And getting that body up and moving according to the need of that individual, you know, to get up for a walk, anything from going from a simple brisk walk to a very rigid, comprehensive, you know, weightlifting program, anything in between. I think to have individualized plans for clients who are struggling with anxiety and depression can be very helpful. And so just getting up, like you said earlier, it's just getting up and moving.
Mm-hmm. Travis, is it helpful for people to have a plan as they do this, to have a destination or a program they're on, or even just, okay, today I'm going to walk 20 minutes? Is it helpful to have that goal, I guess?
It's absolutely helpful. You know, one of the things that I like to do with my clients is assign homework assignments. I know it takes you back to high school or grammar school, but when you put something in a plan as far as the homework assignment, and hey, I want you to accomplish this between this session and next session, it definitely gives them something to strive for, something that's an attainable goal. You know, it's not something that they have to instantly shoot for the grand prize from one week to the next. But I think it gives them that short, attainable goal to where, hey, I can do this. This isn't too bad.
I like that. That's a good thing to prescribe homework.
Yes, it's important, you know, to hold people accountable and to give that weekly homework assignment. Okay, we'll start off with whatever that assignment might be. Take that first step.
Yeah. Well, Travis Olivier, thank you so much for helping us today and talking about this. We really appreciate your advice.
Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all having me here.
Okay. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Plan to retire, plan to live. An annuity helps cover your essential monthly expenses, so you're free to live the life you want. Find out how an annuity can give you lifetime income at protectedincome.org.
And we're back talking about what to do about doing nothing. Well, that's bad, you know, if you don't do any physical or activity. It's certainly bad for you physically and for your mental well-being. Matt Lovett, personal trainer at Pure Fitness, is joining us now. Movement is a big part of your life, and so we're going to get your expertise here today.
Can't wait.
All right. We've been talking about, you know, the benefits of moving and or not, and the tragedy of not moving. So what is, when people come to you and they're like, I haven't done anything, what do I do?
Yeah, well, my experience with exercise is everyone that does it, no one starts to exercise or starts to eat better or starts to sleep better or starts to do things and doesn't feel a benefit. So it definitely does work. Now, where should they start? Was that your question?
Yes.
I think definitely, where's the lowest resistance? So whatever that is, usually it's walking. Maybe it's something else, but whatever is going to be easy and fun and more likely to stick and repeat, that's what you want to do. And any way to make it fun, involve other people, social connections, any kind of accountability.
Okay, so find somebody to walk with, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Or like even last night, I got a phone call from my buddy who lives in a different state. And we like to chat and catch up for half an hour. So I just get up, walk outside, and just start talking. So I'll make phone calls when I walk, just looking for those opportunities in your day-to-day life. Maybe tracking your total step count is a great measurement tool.
You know, and it doesn't have to be something that is so life-changing in the immediate future. You know, when we have someone who is struggling with anxiety or depression, it seems overwhelming. Oh, now you're asking me to go and exercise and move and be physical. It doesn't necessarily have to be so daunting from what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, definitely. In fact, that never works. So if you're extremely intense about it, you're going to quit, because now there's this mountain of resistance between you and actually doing it. So actually doing something that you're likely to do. And some people, you know, we've got some people that they like to blame the circumstances, they like to blame other people, they like to feel helpless. And the truth is, some of them are just always going to want that and never going to actually take action and do anything. But the fact of the matter is, if you start to find solutions and you start to make it happen and you actually just start to try stuff, then you get to a point where you say, wow, I actually had more energy. Wow, I actually slept better. You know what? I didn't feel that anxious today. You know what? My mood is a lot better. And once you get that positive feedback loop, okay, now I'm connecting this movement with this better feeling, with this better lifestyle, and you start to feel and experience a difference. That's when it starts to perpetuate itself. And then you get more aggressive, you get more curious, and you have to get to a point where you're hungry and you're taking responsibility yourself to get it done.
You know, right there, that piece of you feel less anxious. You know, one of the things that we're discussing here is people who come in feeling anxious, feeling depressed as an initial presenting form, and the benefits of moving, the benefits of physical activity to help mitigate that symptomology. A person who feels anxious, a person who feels depressed is not initially motivated to go ahead and move. But what have you noticed are the effects, the impact of moving, of physical activity for people who struggle with anxiety and or depression?
Yeah, I have yet to meet a person who has come in to see me, or I've just talked to or asked about, where they said, you know what, I tried that. I went and exercised, I did this and that, and I still feel horrible.
Yeah.
I've yet to meet that person. Now, maybe there's some outliers out there, and there are certainly some situations where it's more challenging, but the fact of the matter is, it definitely does work. Now, the challenge is, when you feel anxious and you feel, you know, depressed and you have very low energy, how to actually get from there to moving.
Right.
So the biggest thing there is to think about, how can I shrink this change? How can I make this the smallest possible change that I can feel a benefit from? Who can I involve? What kind of social support? What kind of accountability? What kind of help can I get? What kind of support system? But what is the smallest change you can make just to get the ball rolling? And if you're that desperate, if you really want to get out of pain and feel better, you have to be responsible, because there's no pill that's going to get you a lot better consistently over time, that's going to have you feeling great. You got to take control of the situation and find the opportunity and make it happen.
You know, and that no pill, there are pills, but it's a Band-Aid, right? It doesn't take care of the situation. You maybe pop a pill, you're prescribed something, and it reduces the symptoms of anxiety, it reduces the symptoms of depression, but physical activity in its natural form is an alternative pill. It is something that naturally does the same thing within the body's organism. And a person who is experiencing anxiety or depression, when they move, then they can feel the effects without having to take some sort of prescribed psychotropic medication. Now, mind you, there are some people who benefit from that, but the majority of people can start to feel the symptomologies reduce when they move.
Yeah, and the two aren't exclusive. You could do both.
Right.
And from my experience, and I think, Roy, you probably got a lot more experience with this than me, but when I see people on medications, it seems like they do sort of help in the short term, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but then things kind of return to a baseline, and the medications don't necessarily work that long. The side effects stick around, but I don't know, that's my personal experience. I need to got a lot more experience with that. If you could put exercise into a pill and take that, it would work better than anything. Right. And the fact of the matter is, you will sleep better, you will sleep deeper, you will wake up feeling more refreshed. If you get hydrated, if you eat real, healthy, clean food, it definitely works. It's getting yourself to do it. So frame that as your next challenge, is how can I get myself motivated to do this? Because it's beyond debate whether or not it has an effect.
You know, I think it's fascinating that as a trainer, you're saying, okay, just do the minimum. If it's hard for you, just do the minimum thing you can do to change. Because I know people who go, okay, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to go, and then they, go on a rowing machine for 40 minutes, and then they go on the thing, and then the next day they're dead people.
Right.
And they've killed not only their muscles, they've killed the enthusiasm to do something. So I love it that you as an expert go, just do the least you can do. Just for right now, just do the least you can do.
The most important variable is consistency, right? Is showing up. And if your legs are sore and you can't walk and it hurts to stand up because your legs are so sore, you're not likely to do that again.
Right.
We're looking for ways to break down the resistance to do it again and again and again. And if it's not intensity, it's not speed, it's not the volume of activity, it's the frequency of you doing it every day. It's doing things like putting your tennis shoes on top of your toilet seat in the morning so it reminds you to put them on so you'll go for a walk. It's showing up to the gym, and a lot of times you show up, you don't have any energy, you don't feel like being there. But 10 minutes in to your walk, to your gym, to whatever it is, the hormones start flowing, the blood starts pumping, and now you feel like, okay, now I feel good after about 10 minutes. And rarely you'll go in, work out for 10 minutes, and you don't feel good, go home. But I bet the next day when you go in and work out, you're going to feel good.
And natural law, too, if you have an interest in something and then you are successful in that, you're going to be more inclined to do it again, as opposed to doing something that is just so lofty that you wind up not being as successful and you feel like a failure. Like, when you feel like you failed at something, you lose interest. And so who wants to put themselves through that, feel like a failure, and then just not do it again? Versus the baby steps, I did that. I went for a walk around the block. I was successful in that. I'm going to do that again. People are interested in feeling successful.
Yes.
And baby steps are helpful toward that.
Having a feeling of accomplishment, like when you finish working out or doing what you said you're going to do, I mean, that's going to get you to the next spot. I think, yeah.
It's also like that kind of, I did this.
Right.
I'm doing this. I'm taking control, kind of. I'm being responsible for me.
And
like
here's
that.
the thing, there's so much trying and so much failure. It is climbing a mountain to put your clothes on and go for a walk every day. It will feel like that. It will seem like that. So don't try to run a marathon.
Right.
It's hard enough just to get moving a little bit. But it does get easier, it does get better, and you do start to enjoy it, you do start to feel the benefits of it.
And I like the example that you gave of, just taking a phone call and going out and walking while you're engaging in that phone call. That is a very practical first step for someone who doesn't have that habit, and then just developing that habit that if, instead of sitting on the couch with a muted television screen while you're on the phone, make it a habit that you get up and take that call and walk back and forth as you take that call. And you do it over the course of the day. That's significant movement.
Yeah. And I know at my house, I bought a treadmill online. I think it cost me about $500. And it's, it's not the nicest thing, but it works. And everyone's got, whether it's business sales calls, whether it's your mother, whether it's whoever, there's people that we can be connecting with more and having support anyway, that we probably should be watching less TV or whatever, and connecting with anyway. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone, because we do have a need for connection anyway.
I love that.
I do too. And who doesn't want to be able to say, yeah, well, I work out every day.
Right.
Whatever you're doing, whether it's, taking a quick walk or talking to somebody on the treadmill or whatever, you want to be the person who takes care of themselves.
You want to be the person that puts on their pants and now, wow, they're loose. This is great. Like, what a feeling,
It's like, I need to buy new clothes.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Matt, for walking us through this. I appreciate it. I love your expertise, and I'm going to do that the least amount I can do today. Just today.
Did you get the point of this whole
I did.
segment?
I'm just teasing.
Just make sure you do it every day.
That's right. Least will grow, right? All right. Roy, you have any tips before we go?
Well, it's important that we just get up and move. And with these baby steps, perhaps stretching could be something that one could do if going for a walk is not something that you can do initially. But going for that walk, stretching and walking is a good first step towards getting the body moving and alleviating those symptoms of anxiety and depression.
That's right. It'll help every bit. Every little step helps.
Every little step helps.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Roy Salgado, and thank you, Matt Left, for joining us. And to all of our guests, and of course, all of the colleagues at the University of Holy Cross for helping us. And we thank you for watching and being a part of Coping Today.